APR. APR stands for annual percentage rate, and it's used when you borrow money. It's used to compare the cost of borrowing money. One company might, for instance, charge you an arrangement fee plus interest rate per annum, and another company might not charge you a arrangement fee, but it might charge a slightly higher interest rate. Well, how do you compare the two? Well, they are obliged by law to tell you what the annual percentage rate is, which is the total amount of money you pay per year for that loan. Whereas APR is used to compare the cost of schemes for borrowing money, AER, the annual equivalent rate, is used to compare savings schemes. Why might savings schemes be different? Well, one scheme might offer you 3% per annum interest paid monthly, and another one might offer 3.1% paid quarterly. And those are actually two slightly different things, but the 3% and the 3.1% can't be compared directly because they're paying interest over different periods. So let's take a look at how we work out AER. This is the formula that you get at the beginning of your exam paper. On the formula sheet at the beginning, you'll see this annual equivalent rate, and it's written in this form. To work it out, you take what they call the nominal interest rate, which is this I, and that's the interest rate which they quote. That's the interest rate you'll see written down. And then, depending how often they are going to pay, that's your value of N. So if they're paying interest on a monthly basis, your N will be 12. If they're paying interest on a quarterly basis, there's 4 periods in a year, so N is 4. So let's take an example of a real life example. This is a savings scheme that's paying 4% per annum with interest calculated monthly. So in terms of our formula, we know that because it's paid monthly, our N is going to be 12, and our I, our interest rate, it's not 4 because this is 4%. It needs to be 4 as a decimal, so we need to divide by 100, so it becomes 0.04. So here's our formula. We know the N is 12 because it's paid monthly. The I is the 4 divided by 100, so it's 0.04. So add the 0.04 divided by 12 to 1, then raise that to the power of 12, take 1 away, and then multiply that up to give you the 4.07. I've got an example in a minute which just shows that in slightly more detail. So this is just an example. And we'll do one more example now, and then we'll do a one there we've worked through it. This is 3.9% per annum with interest calculated weekly. So what's our N value going to be? Yeah, our N value, because it's weekly, our N is going to be 52 because there's 52 periods in a year. And our I value, 3.9% turned into a decimal, is 0.039. So there's our N value of 52, our I of 0.039. Put it into the formula and work it through, and you'd get 3.975%. Okay, that's how it works. Let's have a look at some real life questions from exam papers. So this is one of the past paper questions. Have a little look at that first. Pause the video, have a little look at it, and see if you could work out both bits, and we'll come and do that in a second. Okay, the first bit is fairly straightforward. What's 1.98% as a decimal? Well, to turn it into a decimal, divide by 100. So we move our decimal place 2 places to the left, and that will give us 0.0198. And then it says, which of these two banks should he choose to gain the most interest in a year? Well, this is what AER is all about. We already know the AER for our bank Telio. That's given to us as 1.99%. So what we need to do is work out the AER of this bank here, Bank Padan. It says the nominal interest rate is 1.98% and interest is paid monthly. So what we need to do is take our AER formula and substitute values for I and N. So what is our value for I? Well, I is our interest rate as a decimal, isn't it? So 1.98% we need to turn into a decimal by dividing by 100. So that's 0.0198. Our interest is paid monthly, so our N is 12. So this is what we get. 1 plus our 0.0198 divided by 12, and we're raising it to the power of 12. So we work out what's inside the bracket first, then raise that to the power 12, then take 1 away. So if we first of all raise that to the power 12, we get 1.01998, take 1 away, which gives us the 0.01998. So that's our AER as a decimal. Turn it back into a percentage by multiplying by 100, and we get 1.998. So just to finish off that question, we've worked out that the AER for the Bank Padan, or however you pronounce it, is 1.998. So it's slightly higher than our Bank Tilo, which is paying 1.99. So this is an example, really. This on the face of it is paying 1.98. This one's paying 1.99. But because this has got interest paid monthly, we actually get a slightly better deal with this bank. Right, let's take another past paper question. This case is talking about a Dragon Saver account, which is paying 7.6 per annum paid quarterly. What do we call that 7.6 per annum? That's got a name that they use for the interest rate. It's the nominal interest rate. It's not the AER because we're paying quarterly. The 7.6% is the nominal interest rate. And it's asked us to work out the annual equivalent rate, the AER. So if we think of our formula, we need to find our I and our N. Our I is our nominal interest rate of 7.6, which we need to turn into a decimal. So that becomes 0.076. And our N is the number of periods in a year. So here, interest is paid quarterly. So our N value is going to be 4. So if we put that into our formula, we get 1 plus our I, our 0.076, our nominal interest rate as a decimal, and we're dividing by 4 because there are 4 quarters in a year. So first thing to do, work out the value of the bracket, which comes to 1.019. Raise that to the power 4 and take away 1. So if we raise it to the power 4, that's what we get. We take away the 1 and we're left with 0.07819. This is where I say don't be careful not to round too much, because what we need to do now is turn this decimal back into a percentage to find the AER, and we do that by multiplying by 100. In other words, taking our decimal point 2 to the right, and that gives us 7.8, and we can round the 19 to be a 2. So our AER is 7.82. One last past paper question. This is slightly different from the previous two. The previous two we were given a nominal interest rate and we had to work out the AER. In this case they've given us a table, and it's a table of transactions from having opened a savings account. So it's saying that on the 1st of August we opened account, we put in £2,800, and hence in our account we had £2,800. The next transaction was at the end of the month on the 31st of the 8th, where interest was paid in. The interest was £14, so we now had a balance of 2,814. Then at the end of September we had another interest payment, this time 1407. Why the slight difference? Well, this is our interest on this balance of 2,814. So when we've added that 1407, we've got now in our account 2,828.07. And the question here, part A, is asking us to calculate the nominal interest rate per annum. How are we going to do that? Well, we know how much interest we got at the end of the first month. At the end of August, having opened the account at the beginning of August, we had earned an interest of £14. That was £14 on our initial account opening of 2,800. So to work out what that is, we divide 2,800 into 14. And that gives us 0.005. So that's our interest rate as a decimal for 1 month. For the month of August, we got 0.005 interest. So our nominal interest rate per annum is going to be our monthly rate times 12, which gives us 0.06. So that's our nominal interest rate as a decimal. So just turn that back into a percentage by multiplying by 100, and we get our nominal interest rate is 6%. That's part A. Part B, it wants us to calculate the AER for this account. So our nominal rate is 6%, but we're getting interest paid monthly. So we could work on our 6%, but actually we've already worked out what our monthly rate was, haven't we? Which is our 0.05. So we can put that straight into our equation. We can do 1 plus our nominal rate divided by 12 would give us our 0.05. So 1.005 raised to the power of 12 take away 1 gives us this value here of 0.06167. So that's our AER as a decimal. Turn it back into a percentage by multiplying by 100, and we get 6.167. We're normally working to, in fact, it's asked us to work to 2 decimal places, so we round the final 67 to be a 7. So our AER is 6.17%.